Hello everyone, my name is Thomas Jr. here, aka Mustached, and welcome to my review of The Turning. If you end up enjoying this review, then consider joining my Patreon. Any donations are desperately needed. Let's get into it. So I had not seen any promotion material for the movie The Turning. I only seen movie review thumbnails pop up, so that was the only reason I even knew this movie existed. So, while it is a new sort of franchise, possible, like, horror thing based off of a book, it's not great. And we'll get into that. So anyways, the movie starts with a woman named Kate running to her car and getting to the gate and then being stopped by some sort of figure. But we cut back in time, I think, to Kate, who is talking about how she's going to be taking care of a 7-year-old instead of a group of kids, meaning she was a teacher. So she goes to her mom, who is in this asylum for crazy people, or whatever name you want to call it. So she's drawing, and she's obviously a little bit crazy. She's talking about how the pictures will keep her warm. And then we cut to her on the road. So she gets to this house where she's going to be a caretaker, and she meets this housekeeper. I never learned her name, but we see that she finds in the barn a child named Flora, the younger girl, 7-year-old girl in the poster here. So Kate looks for her a bit, and she finds her with the horse, and then they're like talking a bit. So Flora gives her a tour, and she says how the East Wing is the bad spot, or she says she'll never go there for reasons, and it's pretty obviously setting up this ominous, like, don't go that way, it's where the spooks are supposed to be. So they're continuing her little tour, and they go into like the sewing room, and we go to where the housekeeper is, and they're like eating with her. We cut to Kate looking around, and then she like tucks in Flora, and she sees like a figure in the window. She's like, "Ooh!" So she moves. She like goes to her room, sees this mannequin, moves it away. The sewing machine goes off on its own, and as she leaves, we see the mannequin's head snap back, which I already have a lot of issues with, but we will move right along. So at night, she heads out, and she's hearing voices, and she looks out, and she's freaked out by the drapes, as she finds this younger brother named Miles. So she read over some notes about the previous teachers and how everything started out really nicely, and how over time this guy is like, oh, I'm gonna stalk this family, and it sort of turned into that. So she also gets, when she returns, she also receives a call about how Miles got into some sort of situation at school. So this is where she picks up the phone and learns that he was expelled. So we cut to her painting with Flora. I guess she's like their paint teacher, or her paint teacher specifically, question mark. She says she's a teacher, but she never teaches in the movie. Anyways, Miles throws a ball to the wall, kind of being a distraction. And she's trying to get some info about Miles from Flora. So she sees someone moving about. She checks in with Miles and his guitar. So she claims that she saw someone move into his room, and he's like, nah, I'm good. It's just us. Kate calls her friend, um, and then she sees someone in the water. So she dives in and she's like struggling to get out, and then she sees that it was a porcelain like figure that she was going in for. And Miles and Flora set this up so they get like in trouble. Um, so Miles checks in with her. He does like the super lean in. It happens really quick. I thought he like kissed her on the cheek or something. It's like ooh, really quick. Anyway, so Kate goes in for a horse lesson because like he was like, oh, you something about a horse lesson. You're like, oh, you won't do it good, and then she's like, oh, I'll do it good or whatever. Anyways, Flora is like playing with her dolls, and the housekeeper is cooking. Little bits of like random info. Sees Miles in the mirror and wakes up from this little nightmare she's having. The kids run in. She's like trying to wake up. Um, and Miles like talks to the mirror, and he mentions how Kate has a tattoo, which he's like mentioning this person that knew that about her. And again, there's like all this info. It's like, okay, where's this going? So, anyways, so Kate takes them to the car to drive them. And shortly after they're driving, Flora starts crying, and Miles demands that they stop. Um, and she eventually does so, and this is indicative because, or important I should say, because early in the movie when she first arrived, she asked about how the parents died. The housekeeper said that the parents died in a car accident, and Kate knew this and decided to bring them into a car anyway. So she's getting ready to leave, and she talks to her friend Rose, and she remembers this promise that she would stay, so she stays. So Flora gives her the silent treatment for a bit, and then Kate uses her brave mask technique to help her to start talk again. So she goes to Miles, and Miles jumps her up because he's still upset regardless. Um, so she's asking the housekeeper why the previous teacher left. And the housekeeper says, like, oh, like, she was in this affair with a person and we took care of him, etc., etc. So Kate finds these pictures and then gets spooked. Reads some more about what was going on prior to the previous teacher. Sees Miles ride off on his horse. So she runs, goes off and gets to go get her horse. But she ends up like waking up in her bed, so it was like a dream sequence again or whatever. So Flora gives her a picture that she made to like help her out. So the two kids say that they want to play like flash tag, and the kids run off. So she starts looking around. She finds Flora, and then she's like trying to get like where Miles is, and then she's like, "Oh no, I'm dead." Blah blah. So she moves to this underground area where where her light gets grabbed from her, and she's like freaking out. So we see that Flora and the housekeeper are just like playing chess while Kate is down there yelling about and seeing figures and all this stuff, freaking out more and more. She gets spooked by hands touching her. Quick check in from Flora. After like she like moves her way up to like them, and she's like, "Oh, where were you?" And then they were like, "Yeah, we were here this entire time." Um, so, anyways, the housekeeper gives her an envelope, and she takes out the pictures that her mom gives her, and Kate picks up the phone, is talking to her mom, and she sees moving footprints guide her to outside, where she's like running out to the maze, and she's knocked into the water. She sees a body and looks around as she gets back out. She goes into the east wing and hears more noises, uh, and the housekeeper finds her. Uh, but they get into an altercation where the housekeeper is spooked, and then a shove happens, and then she's shoved down the stairs to the death. So she moves to Flora, trying to get her to come along, and then she runs off. She goes to get Miles, eventually convinces him to go along and get them to the car. They drive off, get back. They drive away, and we see them drive away. But unfortunately, we jump back in time at this point in the movie to when she retrieved the pictures from her mom, um, and seeing Kate randomly freak out. And we cut to her in the solo bed, and then seeing her mom, and then she freaks out again. The end of the movie, the turning. Okay, so let's get into my issues with this movie. Okay, so it's pretty clear that in this movie they're trying to explore Kate going crazy, and it being hereditary from her mom. The issue I have with this are that there are horror elements or spook elements or jump scare elements that happen without Kate's presence, like the mannequin, for example. And it seems like near the end, they're going so hard on this idea that it is the house's presence, this guy that she learned about specifically, becoming so strong that it could affect the physical world of Miles and Flora. Uh, and I would have been fine with that element, and I would have been fine with a story about a woman going crazy, but the way they try to stick these two stories together is what doesn't work. And it doesn't work because it's too far removed from the other thing of oh, the house is being spooked. That is, there's a haunting here of some kind. And there is a certain sadness, if you will, to, a character going crazy, obviously. And it never really feels like there's many other times where it's made even hintedly aware that this is happening until the very end. And that, to me, is what is very issue about this, is that there aren't, it seems like a complete diversion of where the story was going. You could have taken that end part where they jump back in time out of the movie and everything after that out of the movie, and then it would have been fine. In fact, you probably could have taken the whole thing with the mom out of the movie, and you still would have been fine. But they were trying to also do that story as well. They were trying to add on this additional story. And again, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of hints that she's going crazy. There could have been this sequence where she's going around the house, for example, and then, like, she looks, like, at a clock. I don't know, I'm just making something up, right? And then, like, she goes through a whole sequence of things, and then she goes back to the clock, and she sees it reset back in time to what it was when she left, and she's, like, asking the kids, like, did you change the time or something? Something like that. I don't know. You know, there probably could have been other elements of, like, her directly interacting with a thing, and that thing either not being there or changing in a way that would suggest not a haunting necessarily, but her going crazy. And I know that it could be really hard to do when there's also a haunting going on. So I think a necessary scene would have been her leaving the house and then still having something happen to her, and then you have your setup there. Um, just so it's like, okay, so there's something else going on here, and it's a little bit more obvious. As is, it's pretty out of nowhere. It just feels like it's an additional add-on that doesn't feel necessary. The kids do their best for what they're given. The daughter's a little bit better at it than she's given a little bit better material as well, and she does it a little bit better. So I'll give this movie a 4 out of 10. I do feel like they do have certain elements that are okay decently, but the add-on actually removes quality, and that's always a possibility, so, you know. So that's what it is, a 4 out of 10. Pretty shame. I like to see when a new movie is able to come out and it's just either based off of something that isn't really been known for, or it's its own thing and it actually is successful. But that is not the scenario here, unfortunate. So that is my review of The Turning, and if you enjoyed it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One to head over to my Discord server, the other to my Patreon page. Any donations are greatly appreciated, and until next time, everyone, bye-bye.